They're going to get Devon Witherspoon on the field this week, Brady. They got Jamal Adams back on the practice field. He's probably not going to play this week, but he's back on the practice field. How important is, I mean, you talked about attitude, and I just go back to when they brought in Adams to begin with. It was supposed to be, hey, we need that juice.
Yep.
There's no juice in this locker room, and I don't know. I don't know that I've really seen it from him because he's not out on the field all that often. What should we expect with Jamal and Devon back out on the field?
Yeah, that is a big part of the Adams thing, and it is. I know he's not going to play this week, but whenever he does get back, I think he could be kind of a shot in the arm for them, not just with what he provides on the field. Again, this is all assuming he can stay healthy, but the energy and going there. I think there is an interesting backstory that you hinted at there. Is when they traded for him. Obviously, they were trading for a difference maker on the field and then all the pass rush stuff and all that. That was primarily about the kind of football player he is, but it was also about the kind of personality he is. And really what happened, from what I understand, is from talking to people in the organization, is that they felt like over the years their locker room really lost that. And what really happened was, remember they had all those guys from the Legion of Boom, all those really strong personalities. And what they learned is that kind of personality is really a dual-edged sword. Like, that gets you to extreme heights in terms of what those players are capable, the kind of identity you can have, especially on defense. But it also comes with a lot of headaches. And towards the end of those guys' careers, especially the secondary guys, but not just them. Michael Bennett, I think, was part of this too. Like, they got sick of dealing with all the issues there, and they grew tired of it. And I think, as they would tell you now, they overcorrected. Like, they started going for guys who are easier going, sort of more mellow guys. Look at the 3 defensive backs they drafted in 2017. That they were all sort of, just like solid, not problematic guys. But they overcorrected because as a result of that, there were fewer headaches, but their locker room also lost some of its edge. And that was part of what they were trying to get back with Adams.
Well, so they bring him in, and unfortunately, I don't know that I have felt like they have a ton of edge even since then, especially on defense. Now, he does bring some juice. Geno Smith asked about him yesterday and what it was like having him out on the practice field again.
Man, you can feel him right away, man. Just his energy, his playmaking skills, the way he flies around the field. So happy for him to get back into the lineup, man. I know he's been battling back from a couple injuries, and I know, how hard it's been for him. But he stuck with it mentally and physically. And so to have, 33 back out there flying around, man, it was great. Really happy for him and excited to have him.
Do you feel the energy change when he's around?
It's hard for me to say, just because we don't get to watch practice at this point. We get to watch the first 5-7 minutes where they're just sort of running around, warming up. But I don't know, man. You do see Adams walking around the locker room. He's just got this strut about him. Like, you can tell that he is just an energizer. And we have seen it at practice in training camp. I remember one of the first few practices that he had in 2020. It was one of the first training camp practices because they were in pads. I remember there was a play in 11-on-11 where Cedric Ogbuehi was one of the tackles they had that season. He's pulling and he's out, on the perimeter. And Adams delivered one of the hardest hits I've ever seen in a training camp practice. Just stuck his face mask in Cedric Ogbuehi's, chest plate and knocked him back. And I've just never seen that from a defensive back on an offensive lineman. And
like the Cam Chancellor hit on Mike Upati?
Yeah. That's a good comparison. Yeah, it was one of the hardest hits I've ever seen in training camp, and it totally lit up everybody. And that's kind of what you get with Adams. You just haven't really seen it because he's missed so much time. But when he's healthy and when he's playing, that is part of what you get with him.
There is kind of an out of sight, out of mind element to the NFL. And it's easy to kind of come on after Sunday's game and be like, all right, that defense stunk. It did. It was a bad defense. They didn't play well to a not very great team. They gave up 100 yards to 2 different no-name wide receivers. I mean, there were all kinds of problems, especially over the middle of the field. But it is sort of, easy to be out of sight, out of mind. No Jamal, no Devon Witherspoon. And, those guys are supposed to be sort of the personality, anyway, of this defense. At least that's what DK said. This was all the way back in OTAs, but I think it still stands.
Witherspoon? Oh, yeah, man. I love that. A guy that's going to go out there and compete and, is not gonna back down from the challenge. I know, Kobe tried to run into him, and then, he bowled up and tackled him. So it was just fun to watch how competitive he is. And I think, once we get Jamal back out there, both of their energy and their fire is gonna, spark the whole defense up. So it's gonna be fun.
I think that's great, and I'm excited for them to have some players like that. And I think there's a lot of validity to the need for that personality, especially on the back end. All that being said, if you don't have the horses up front, I don't know how much it matters.
That's fair. Yeah, and those guys work in tandem a lot, right? It's and we heard that with sort of what happened in the game on Sunday is, it was partly the pass rush not getting there. It was partly the coverage not being there. So one can help out the other, but even the best secondary can't, keep a defense going when you get two quarterback hits on 39 dropbacks like they had Sunday. Look, I think that their pass rush is going to be better.